again, everyone. It's me, John. Thank you for joining me on this edition of Geek and Dorks Reviews. This one is a little bit different because I'm doing a book review. However, if you're a Brain Scratch fan, this book ties directly to a case we covered a few months ago about the Dyatlov Pass incident. And this book is called Dead Mountain, The Untold True Story of the Dyatlov Pass Incident, and it is written by Donnie Icar. This book was recommended to me by several of you brain scratchers in the comments section, and goes into a bit of a different theory about what might have happened to the Dyatlov ski hikers. If you don't know about it, this is a case that is back from the 50s, if I'm remembering correctly, where a group of students went ski hiking in the mountains in Russia and wound up dead, 9 of them. And some interesting things about the case were they were staying in a tent, and the tent was cut from the inside, it appears, as they were trying to escape, and many of them escaped without shoes into the frozen wilderness, and of course without shoes or proper clothing. It seems like they expired pretty quickly. So it's a case that has been reviewed by many different television shows. There's a lot of different theories about what could have happened. Is there possibly an avalanche? Was there some type of military testing and, some type of concussion bomb or something scared them out of their tent? There's even a Yeti story tied to this, as well as aliens and just about every other possible usual conspiracy theory that you could throw towards this. But that's where a book like this is really good. Donnie Icar basically did the work of trying to go and research this for himself. He traveled out to Russia twice and met with people that are kind of preservationists of this story. And he also met with someone that was traveling. He was actually the 10th hiker, but he turned around due to not feeling well. And he was still alive when Donnie was out there investigating, so he got to speak to him as well. I have to say, if you're interested in the story at all, I highly recommend this book. It also is rated pretty well. It gets a 4.1 out of 5 at Barnes & Noble and a 3.9 out of 5 at Goodreads. There are what I consider, there's really 3 distinct pieces to this book. There is the story of Donnie Icar traveling to modern-day Russia and going through this investigation. There is the story of the Dyatlov hikers that he has pieced together from all the research that he has done. And then there is this weird post-story, and we'll get to that in a minute. First of all, the story of Donnie and his travels is very intriguing. It's great because it gives you a sense of what these people are like, what it's like to travel to that part of the world, some of the challenges in terms of traveling around there with him not speaking the language. The research that he has put together to tell the backstory of the Dyatlov ski hikers, really well done. He spoke to family members. He's very clear about who he spoke to, what they said, and just gives you great insight into these people and really brings them to life. And that's probably my biggest joy in this book. Is it's one thing to look at a mystery like this and you talk about 9 bodies being found. It's another thing to actually have those bodies brought back to life and pieces of their character and persona being talked about. It was, in this case, not easy to do, but they had been pretty good about writing their diaries as they were traveling, and he incorporates a lot of that information. He also adds some information that's outside of that just really brings these people to life. They literally pop off the page. That's probably my favorite aspect of the book, actually. So then there's this third part. And what's really strange is I read this book in one day. I was traveling and just happened to be waiting in airports a lot, and I just pounded through this book. And the first 2/3 of the book were just a complete joy for me. Then the last third goes into kind of this post-review. You feel like Donnie got back from these trips and didn't have what he considered an ending to the book. And he starts doing his own research. I think in other Brain Scratch videos we have talked about what's known as the Taos hum. There's a few places on the world where wind can cause this strange low frequency hum. And some people are susceptible to that. It literally drives them crazy, it irritates them, causes them sleep loss. So for some reason, in the last third of this book, Donnie gets his mind just hooked on this theory. And it's weird because there's even sections of the book where you can read how excited he is about this aspect and that he might have this new theory. And then he goes and he meets with these science professionals, and the first time they kind of know, and by the way, the lead guy that he's meeting with is a guy that has been trying to push this theory practically his whole career, and this man is now in his 70s. So it's weird because I don't want to blow the book for you, but it's kind of hard to do this conversation without doing it. So minor spoiler alert here. But the ending of this book is essentially Donnie meeting with these scientists, them saying that his first assumption about how the noise is being created is wrong, but they found a different way that the noise is created, and they think that that might be it. And then Donnie just reveling in his own genius about having figured this whole thing out. Which I would love if I felt like it was accurate. But even according to the information that he's presented in his own book, it doesn't quite hold up. One of those main facts is that the hum only affects about 20% of people, and you have 9 people out there. And he's looking, basically, the biggest question in this book is, what is the reason why these people ran out of the tent? And in particular, without their shoes and without proper clothing on. What was the immediate threat? And Donnie's assertion is that it ties back to them being psychologically rattled by this hum. However, the truth, well, the information that's been released about this type of hum states it only affects 20% of people. It also takes extremely fast winds to create this hum. And the doctor that he meets with even says that the way the hill has no trees or no plant life on it, that might account for those type of winds to be happening. Well, then a big question comes up in how is the tent still standing? If you have, as Donnie points out in this book, this hum happens with these kind of mini tornadoes that go at 150 miles per hour of wind spinning in itself. And they even draw this diagram that I found a little ludicrous with a tent in the middle and 2 tornadoes on each side of it. What is stopping that wind from taking down the tent? And that's part of what was great about this book, is finding new information that I didn't know that Donnie uncovered. Like, for example, the tent was not completely knocked down. The picture of the tent where it's down and there is a bunch of snow on it, which I actually show in my episode of Brain Scratch on this, that was done after the investigators already got there. Apparently, they might have removed the stakes that had the tent popped up, and that brought it down. But when they initially found it, it seemed like half the tent was damaged and the other half was still standing. So it's really strange for me. Like I said, if you're into this case at all, I think this book is really enjoyable, particularly the first 2/3. But there's this weird aspect in the last third that feels, I'm just going to put it out, it feels self-delusional. There's full pages where it feels like he's prepping the reader for this big mystery being solved, and that he's so excited because he knows he's finally figured it out. And the book really ends, for me, on this sour note of this guy that didn't feel like he could end his book without having solved this mystery. And that just seems to undercut the truth of what this mystery is. And for how well written it was, particularly in the first 2/3, I found the last third extremely disappointing. So, like I said, overall, I would rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. I would give it, well, it was 2/3 good, so I would say a 7. There's a lot of great information. He did some really good research. Reading about his travels is really enjoyable. But man, the ending of the book, it just has this cap of just stuff that just doesn't hold up with the rest of the information that he's presented, and this feeling of self-delusion that he had to be the guy to solve this, and this was the only way that he could solve it, and he got together with someone else whose life work was trying to perpetuate this theory of low-frequency hum, and they agreed. You know, it doesn't really seem to hold up for me personally. However, if you have different thoughts on it, maybe you're an expert in low frequency hum, maybe you know something that I don't, maybe you know better statistics than it affects only 20% of people, please be sure to drop it in the comments below. I will check those out, and thank you all for hanging out with me on this Geek and Dorks review. Take care and have a great week.